I can tell.
Testing. 1, 2, 3. That's what. Can you hear me, Mr. Sykes?
Yes.
Brother Sykes?
Yes. Good
Okay.
evening. I was waiting for you all to unmute the boardroom.
We was just checking the mic.
Okay. I can hear everybody right now. Is the mic pretty close to everybody?
I know.
All right. You good, Dr. Congleton?
I got you. I got you. They can long they can hear. Okay.
Mrs. Harrison?
Yes.
All right, I hear you. Ms. Jenkins, is the mic closer to you?
Yes.
All right, I got you. I hear you loud and clear tonight.
Yeah, in my face.
All right. Do we have everybody on? Ms. Hale is on, Ms. Kim Robinson is on. Ms. Bird Robinson on. Is she on? Mr. Redmond?
No.
No,
not
Miss
yet.
Robinson, Bird Robinson, not.
Okay. Trying to wait a minute, but
She on. She's on.
she's on.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much. Is everybody ready in the boardroom?
Yes, we're ready.
Everybody ready online?
Yes.
All right. At this time, I call the February the 25th, 2021 meeting of the Weldon City School Board of Education to order at this time. I hope that everyone has an agenda before them. Just making sure. All right. Let us prepare to read our mission statement at this time. Mr. Redmond, thank you, sir. The mission for our school district. Let us all read together. The mission of the Weldon City School District is to create and maintain a highly effective educational system in which every student receives the highest quality education. School employees and parents work together to prepare students to become caring, competent, and responsible citizens who value education as a lifelong process. Thank you so much for assisting in reading our mission statement for the evening. At this time, we will ask if Mrs. Tanya Bird Robinson would share with us our thought for the evening. Mrs. Bird Robinson.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
It gives me an honor to be able to share some thoughts with you this evening. It's very brief, but I wanted to, this is definitely for our parents, our students, and all of our employees. Though we are still in a pandemic, we appreciate all that you all continue to do to support us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Bird Robinson, for sharing our thought of the evening. And of course, everyone needs to know that we express those same sentiments that Ms. Bird Robinson has stated. At this time, with everybody having their agenda before them, please take a brief moment to review the agenda. Are there any additions or deletions to our agenda for tonight? One thing I want us to pull from our consent agenda that we may have discussion about tonight. Consent agenda number 1, the 2021 audit contract, that we pull that to have discussion before we actually approve that, and we can make that item 10A to discuss. Under the consent agenda, we have A, and then there are a list of things 1 through 5 that we pull number 1 to discuss, and we make that 10A discussion, 2021 audit contract. Anyone else have anything? Any other additions or deletions? Anybody want to pull anything to move for further discussion?
Make a motion to approve the agenda with the due changes that were made.
Second.
Thank you so much, Mr. Williams. Motion has been moved and properly seconded by Mrs. Kim Robinson, respectively, that we approve tonight's agenda with the noted change of pulling the audit contract for discussion under item 10A. You've heard that motion. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of that motion, would you let it be known by your voice vote? Ms. Harrison?
Yes.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Ms. Jenkins?
Aye.
Sykes, aye. Ms. Kim Robinson?
Aye.
Ms. Hale?
Aye.
Ms. Bird Robinson?
Aye.
Let the record reflect that the agenda for tonight has been approved unanimously. All right. Before we will go any further, hope that everybody received their minutes from our January the 14th work session and our January the 21st January 14th work session and the special call meeting on January 14th and our January 21st board meeting. Hopefully everybody received their minutes. All right. Do we have any discussion? If we do not, a motion would be in order.
I make a motion to approve the January 14th work session and January 14th special call meeting. And also the January 21st board meeting minutes.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Harrison. It has been moved and properly seconded by Ms. Hale, of course, seconded by Mrs. Harrison, that we approve the minutes from the four stated meetings, January 14th work session, January 14th call meeting, and January 21st board meeting. You've heard that motion. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of that motion, would you let it be known by your voting sign? Your voice vote at this time. Ms. Jenkins?
Aye.
Ms. Harrison?
Yes.
Ms. Bird Robinson?
Aye.
Ms. Kimberly Robinson?
Aye.
Ms. Hale?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
And Sykes, aye as well. Let the record reflect that the motion, the minutes have been approved unanimously according to the motion that has been carried. All right, at this time, we'll move into number 5, our reports, and under 5A, our superintendent report. Dr. Congleton, we're ready for you at this time, sir.
Thank you, Reverend Sykes.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, board members, employees, parents, and the Charger family. It is my pleasure to share with you my February Superintendent's Report. Senate Bill 37 is on the governor's desk, awaiting final approval. It is anticipated that the bill will be signed and mandated for implementation. In doing so, school systems will be required to provide face-to-face instruction for its students while offering the option of remote instruction for those who wish to continue with remote learning. We are in the process of surveying every single student and household in the Weldon City School District to determine which students will opt to continue remote instruction and which students will opt for face-to-face instruction. Based upon the survey responses to date thus far, it has been determined that 43% of our students have requested to return to school for face-to-face instruction, while 57% have elected to continue with remote learning. In view of this new development, we continue to work closely with the Halifax County Health Department to support our response to COVID-19 presumptive, suspected, and positive cases. Additionally, we have staff completing a monthly self-monitoring document. We continue to conduct the screening protocols as required by the Strong Schools Toolkit. School buildings walkthroughs were completed to determine school needs. All schools have received 2 touchless thermometers, directional signs, 6-foot floor markers, cloth face masks for students and staff, hand sanitizer for each class and office, a gallon refill of sanitizer, and 2 months supply of PPE for designated staff. That's personal protection equipment. We have received a donation of 100 face shields and 700 cloth masks in packs of 5. We have purchased required Kleenex for each class and designated staff PPE, which includes disposable mask, face shields, gloves, and touchless thermometers. To support proper hand hygiene, an additional 2-month supply of antibacterial soap has been purchased for each school. Storage bins were purchased to support screening and proper hygiene on buses. We have continued to follow established cleaning and sanitizing procedures for each school. Each school received a checklist which requires additional cleaning measures. We are still continuing with our feeding program and providing meals to our families on a daily basis. February the 8th through the 12th was proclaimed as School Bus Driver Appreciation Week in North Carolina. We want to express our appreciation to all bus drivers. Our bus drivers play a major role towards the development of our students, both now and in the future. During the pandemic, they have delivered meals to students and families so that the students could focus on learning. Please accept this acknowledgement as an expression of appreciation to our bus drivers from the entire school system. Today, I had the honor of serving as a virtual guest speaker to the kindergarten and first grade classes at Weldon Elementary School. The title of my topic was Black History Month. During my presentation, I was able to rediscover what I already knew, that our students are very bright, intelligent, and willing to virtually interact in the constant pursuit of sustaining and advancing their education. The students were eager to learn about the many contributions that Black Americans have made towards the invention and implementation of many of the ideas, concepts, and items that impact our day-to-day lives. Such items include the automatic gear shift, America's first clock, automatic elevator doors, the blood bank, the clothes dryer, the dustpan, the electric lamp, the stoplight, gas mask, the modern toilet, the pacemaker, the blimp, and many other items that are too numerous to mention at this time. That's just a small sampling, folks, that I want to share with you. These students were excellent, and I was very proud to have the opportunity to be a part of their direct learning experience. We will continue to press forward with our efforts to provide comprehensive services to our students and community to the greatest extent possible. We thank everyone for your continued support and understanding as we make every possible effort to comprehensively serve our students under these extraordinary circumstances. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Congleton, for your very thorough and spot-on report this evening. Thank you so very much. I'll share a brief report or comments rather that I wish for all to know in our district. One of the things Dr. Congleton mentioned about Senate Bill 37, I hope everybody would understand our parents and our community leaders and stakeholders. This is something that our school board has nothing to do with. It is not our decision. This is a decision that is in the General Assembly that will be handed to us. And we will try our best to make accommodations as we possibly can with the numbers or the percentages that Dr. Congleton has already mentioned, with 57% desiring to stay virtual and remote and 43% desiring to be in person. Please know, Dr. Congleton and certainly this board, we're going to do everything in our power to make sure that people feel comfortable and people feel safe, our staff and students, and certainly the parents that will send our students back to in-person learning if this bill should pass. We don't know, we don't have a vote on that, but it's looking like that it will have the strong possibility of passing. So community, parents, staff, please just be diligent with us. We're doing the very best we can as a board under these circumstances. Also, let me encourage everyone in the current plight that we find ourselves in. I would ask that our parents and our staff and our community at large make sure that you self-educate with what is going on in the happenings of our current day. Let us not be novice concerning what is going on. Let us search and research to find truthful, tangible information of what is happening in our day. Please stay healthy stay hydrated, and keep your immune system at its very best. Please let us make sure that we do that. And also, as we celebrate Black History Month, let us all remember that Black history is still being made each and every day. And our students, you can make history by continuing to excel and do your very best in your studies as we move through these uncertain and unchanging times. Thank this board for working together as we're striving to do and just doing what we need to do to move Weldon City Schools in a positive direction each day, each week, each month that we have before us. Thank you, fellow board members, for working together, and certainly thank you again for allowing me to be a part of this beautiful group of people. Thank you so very much. All right, let us move forward now with our building and grounds report.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, board.
Good evening.
Good evening.
First of all, I'd like to thank Dr. Congan for the stuff we got accomplished in the last couple of weeks. We've got some stuff fixed, should have got fixed, and we got them fixed. Basically, we're just trying to proceed what we got going on for us, getting ready to happen for the new kids come back. We are trying to get stuff in place, what they're gonna need. And like sneeze guards, and we're trying to get that stuff in place too. It just depends on which direction we're gonna go, who we have it in place when it is time for it, and we're gonna short try. But basically, we're just trying to keep things going the way they ought to. And a quick question is, some of the stuff we got going on as far as like repair to the light outside, Dr. Collins got that approved. The heating systems at the middle school, high school, everything's working good for right now. We got stuff to get those fixed. Elementary's working fine. Roof problems a couple places. I talked to Dr. Collins this afternoon. I found out some issues at the elementary that those were done in 2010.
Can you speak up a little bit, please?
Yes, Ms. Jenkins.
Thank you.
Those roofs were done in like 2010. They're like 13 years old. So I went back and looked at the contracts, trying to figure out what the warranty guidelines are, and it's 20 years. But so they're gonna try to prorate this stuff. The roof is really, really bad at elementary, believe it or not. And I've got pictures of it to show how bad it is. And the material has deteriorated. I mean, I've got places that I can almost stick my fingers through it. And it's 13 years old, and before, you know, I said I got before, but I'm gonna hold it tonight. That's something we need to make sure we keep our eye on if we go in another direction to get it fixed. But we're all gonna have to look at doing something to that roof over there because it is that bad a shape. So I'm gonna see what the warranty will cover first, then we're gonna go from there.
Mr. Turner,
Yes, sir.
if I may insert real quickly a question. Is it any way those pictures that you have taken, can you get those pictures to Dr. Congleton so the board can be emailed with those pictures so we can see the condition that you're talking about?
Yes, sir. I got tomorrow morning. He's supposed to get them. We got them all. Getting to print them off. I'm gonna get the technology man to help me over there. Thank for him too. And
Okay.
next time we'll have some stuff in place. We're gonna try to do a slide so we can show you some pictures of stuff all going on. And he's gonna help me to present that to y'all next time. So we have something you can look at sure next time too. But Dr.
Thank
Collins
you,
will
sir.
have those pictures. And y'all
All right.
need to see what's going on. You can't climb up on the roof, and I need to make sure that you start seeing this stuff. But you know, I took pictures of everything we do. You just don't ever get to see them. So I need to start showing them to you.
Yeah. Yes, sir. That would certainly help.
I mean,
The
I'll
board
show you
member.
pictures of stuff the simple things that I think folks need to know. To me, it's not simple to everybody. To me, like valves going bad, like I told you before on those, that stuff's 20 years old, and the stuff's just going to be repaired on a lot of this stuff. But y'all need to see what I'm talking about. You know what you're looking at. So, and I
Yes, sir.
appreciate you asking that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you too. And any more questions?
Let me just add, I've dealt with a handful of roofing warranty issues. If I can be of assistance, let me know.
Okay. I most certainly will. And let you look at the contracts too. So like Dr. Conger says, some of that stuff may be covered under the issue is the guidelines under what the law says, they may have to fix it. So, but what they're going to try to do, they're going to try to prorate this thing because of the age of the roof, and which I know they're going to try that. But thing of it is, in my opinion, that costs us almost over $1 million between the two schools. It should last more than 12 years. So that really bothers me. So like I said before, we need to make sure we look at these people when we hire them. what did they do somewhere else? What kind of jobs did they do somewhere else? How did people feel about the job that they did? And to be honest with you, two of these companies have gone out of business. So we got nobody to fall back to, but the manufacturer who actually produced the material for it. So we got to go back to the material as far as the warranty. Now the person that done it is not even in business anymore. So we're gonna have to deal with that part too. But that's something we're gonna work on, get straight to. Any more questions? Thank you,
Any
everyone.
questions?
Mr. Kenny,
I think we got a question.
Okay.
Who is that?
Ms. Hale.
Hey,
Ms. Hale?
Mhm.
Yes.
What about, excuse me, heating in all the classrooms?
The only place we got a problem with heating right now is the science lab at the high school.
Mhm.
And we're working on getting a heat exchanger for that. That's the only one right. We fixed everything else over at the high school. Everything else is working fine everywhere else.
Okay.
Middle school, elementary, everybody's besides the high school, like that one science lab. We got to do something about the heat exchanger. I talked to Dr. Conklin about the price on that. We're gonna try to work that out in the next probably maybe 2 weeks. So,
Okay.
but still half of it still works. It's 2 units in there.
Mhm.
I wrote for both of them to be working, so we won't put much strain on the other one. So, but basically they've got heat everywhere.
Okay. And what about as much rain as we've had
That's,
around here lately?
Yes, ma'am, that is the issue.
Flooding.
That's the reason we're
inside
talking
the
about the roof. And another thing is, it's like the high school back. Now, we blocked that off to keep the water from running through the building. That actually held this time.
Okay.
But we need to actually grade that, and I put that in the 5-year plan.
Mhm.
And y'all gonna see copies of that, so y'all can read through that too, on what our agenda is for the next 5 to 10 years. And you're gonna have a survey from the people who actually done a survey for us after the personnel, payroll. And they'll tell you what's going on with that 5 to 10 year plan. So basically, we hope we get stuff in line, start getting this stuff done. But the high school's had this issue for almost 20 years as far as the order coming through the back of it. So, and we got stuff in place, what's gonna cost to get it fixed. Okay, any more questions?
All right.
Okay, thank y'all.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Turner. All right, at this time, we'll have our monthly financial statement report. Is Ms. Boyd coming to do that, or?
Yes.
All
Good
right,
evening, Dr.
thank you.
Congleton, board chair, board members. Financial
evening.
statement for the month of January, started with a local expense fund. Our revenues, beginning balance, $616,369.70. Total month-to-date deposits, $46,167.58. Year-to-date, $662,537.28. Expenditures, beginning balance, $633,829.14. Total expenditures for the month-to-date, $74,856.15. Year-to-date, $708,685.29. Unobligated fund balance, year-to-date, $334,717.86. Current expense, Fund 2, revenues, beginning balance, $1,315,764.84. Total month-to-date deposit, month-to-date, $255,025.43. Year-to-date, $1,570,790.27. Expenditures, beginning balance, $797,208.53. Total expenditures for the month-to-date, $113,037.29. Year-to-date, $910,245.82. Net result for the year, $660,544.45. Net result for the year, $660,544.45. Child nutrition expense.
Unobligated fund balance. Did you read that, Ms. Boyd, or I missed it?
I have it. Unobligated fund balance is $1,530,000. $831.45.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Child Nutrition Expense Fund, revenues beginning balance, $342,278.87. Total month deposits month to date, $2,895.70. Year to date, $345,174.57. Expenditures beginning balance, $291,678.24. Total expenditures for the month to date, $40,524.68. Net result for the year, $12,971.65. Unobligated fund balance, $275,977.65. Capital outlay expense fund, revenues beginning balance, $243,496.01. Total month deposits month to date, $11,939.61. Year to date, $255,435.62. Expenditures beginning balance, $109,412.96. Total expenditures for the month to date, $5,979.01. Year to date, $115,391.97. Net result for the year, $140,043.65. Unobligated fund balance, $594,423.65.
Ms. Boyd,
Yes.
quick question. I'm gonna start from the last and work my way back to the first. The child nutrition, the red amount of 361250. What is that? Is that funds that have not been reimbursed as of yet, and it was just a little over in the travel?
I have no idea. I will have to check with Ms. Campbell and let you know.
Okay. All right, and then the current expense fund 2, the contracted services, the red amount there. Did we overspend or some funds have not come in yet? I know that happens sometimes.
Once again, I will have to check with Ms. Campbell and let you know.
Okay, so I'm gonna just point these items out then. And then the red amount for our Fund 8. The 46,148.01. If you could let us know about that, I would appreciate it.
Okay, I will.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Ms. Boyd? Thank you so much, Ms. Boyd.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, next we'll have our facility needs report and survey from the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction. Dr. Congleton, who is that?
Yes, sir. I want to introduce Mr. Andrew LaRue.
Okay.
I may have messed up his name, but he'll fix it. He was the lead person in charge of doing the DPI facility needs survey. And he will present the executive summary and answer any questions in regards to the survey.
Okay, good afternoon, good evening, Mr. LaRue. Welcome to Weldon City Schools. Thank you so much for your time this evening, sir.
Thank you. I hope that you're all safe and comfortable. And let me make a request. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, good evening to Dr. Congleton and Mr. Chairman and members of the board, and very happy to report to you tonight on the DPI facility needs survey that we assisted Weldon City Schools with and just a few weeks ago. This is a requirement of general statute requirement for all school districts in the state to submit this information every 5 years. And so it was due to be submitted on January 8th of 2021. And we were able to, I believe, get that in on time. And we do have confirmation from DPI that they received everything in good order. You should have, I see on the screen, a copy of our executive summary. I'm gonna sort of walk through that. And just to let you know, we are a company that I started called BASCA. I retired from Guilford County Schools in 2012 as their assistant superintendent for operations, and started a company to kind of work on some of the kind of things like this, where we can put teams together to help school districts out. You'll see that we put a graph on this front page, a table that shows what has been, excuse me, what has been reported in the last 4 surveys, and then what was reported into 2021. And it's broken up into various categories of new facilities, additions, renovations, furniture and equipment, and land. It's notable that the renovations for the 2021 are higher than had been in the past. That's more likely, we have a very thorough process, and that may not have been followed that thoroughly in the past. The number that you see, the 11,571,466 is basically what your facility needs are in your instructional facilities only, and that's for a 5-year period, a 5-year window. Now, the state asked for information for an additional 5 years. So you can see in the paragraph below that items that were categorized as needed in years 6 through 10 amounted to $4.4 million, bringing the total price up to $15,976,000. The state survey does not ask for information on non-instructional facilities. We feel like in our process that while we're there and collecting the information, you still have to take care of these other buildings like your central office and school bus and maintenance facilities. So the particular needs for those buildings came to an additional $952,000, bringing the total for the study up to $16,928,000. It's about this point that I always want to be sure, especially when I follow the financial report, that we make certain that this is a facility study. It's a needs study. It is not intended to be a budget. It's not a project plan. It's just simply a survey of roofs and parking lots and boilers and what needs to be done in your facilities. Our process is basically, if we can go to page 2, we just give some information on our methodology and how we collected this information. And basically, we were able to pull together Kenny Miller and other staff members from the school system. We came in with a team that collected information for over a 2-day period, school by school and building system by building system. We also collected a lot of documentation that you've had in the past. And if we can go to page 3, you'll see two charts on that page that show the state is interested in what your previous ADM has been for the last 10 years. You can see that charted from 2010-11 school year at 1,000 students to the 2019-2020 reported at 741. And then they give us projections for the next 10 years out. So you can see by their projections based on single cohort of live birth rate that out to the 2029-2030 school year, they're predicting that you would be at a population of 496 students. That's information that's for planning purposes. I think it's important to know that. Also, a lot of times it does not take into consideration other impacts on your enrollment, such as in and out migration, charter schools, any kind of new development, economic development in the county. There's also a sentence right up on the top of that table there that shows we asked each principal to show the use of each classroom and used a formula that the state has to determine what your overall capacity is in your school district. So currently it comes out at 1,722 seats, which is certainly an overage in capacity. We can go to the next page. We take a look at the overall age of your schools and make any determination. Usually we think of the design life of a school being approximately 70 years. Because of construction that you had, you can see that although on the left chart, you can see that Weldon Elementary comes in as a 60-year-old school, but you had significant construction there in 1988 that actually changes that primarily to a 32-year-old school. The average age of your school is relatively new because we have the middle school coming in in year 2000. It's only 20 years old at this point. If we can go to the next page. This pie chart basically shows the total renovation costs for all 10 years and for instructional and non-instructional facilities. The 16 million that was on that front page. We just like to show a breakout of where that money needs to go. And you can, I won't read through all of them. It's a pretty even distribution. We usually see plumbing, HVAC, and electrical taking as much as 50% of the budget, or excuse me, of the cost, the projected cost. And then in the following part of that page, in the next page, we break each one of those down a little further for you so that you can see how much of it is actually HVAC or in site improvements, how much of it is paving and so on. And if you'll go to the last page and go to the bottom of that last page, excuse me, I'm sorry, back up to the executive summary. One more up, a little bit on page 6. There we go. That's good. Basically, it just more of that. And there was an other renovations piece in there that included addition and a renovation to the gym at the high school for $1.8 million. And we also, you have a vacant school building, Andrew Jackson School, and typically, unless there's already a plan made for that, we recommend that we go ahead and put demolition cost in for a vacant building, just so that you have a benchmark as to whatever considerations are being made. It's expensive, we believe, for school systems to hang on to empty buildings, and problematic as well. But there's a calculation inside of the study at $16 a square foot for $647,000. And once again, this is a survey, it's a study. It's not in anybody's mind that somebody's getting ready to demolish that building. For your public record, I want to make that clear. The other pages that are in your handout are directly from the state forms. It's the same information I've been giving you. It's just in their forms. that basically show the 5 years, 0 through 5. And then that second page of that report shows the years 6 through 10. And then finally, there's a page in there that shows that there's a signature sheet required for all school districts to have the chairman of the Board of Education and the chairman of county commissioners to certify that they are aware of and have seen the facility needs survey. It doesn't require board approval. It's not something that has anything to do with any upcoming budgets or whatever. It's simply a planning document. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have. As you're
Board
thinking,
members, do we have any questions?
as you're thinking of those questions, I want to brag on your staff a little bit. Dr. Congleton was obviously very helpful to us. You've got a really good person in charge of your maintenance of your facilities, Kenny Miller, and just want to give him a vote of confidence. So one of the reports that we have is on your utility bill. And you've got I think you've got a total cost of $182,000 a year for all your electricity, natural gas, water, sewer. That comes out at 75 cents a square foot. And that shows that somebody's doing something efficient in your schools. Typically, we don't see anything less than $1, and we see it as high as $1.40, $1.50 in other districts that we did around you. So it's a good signal that proper attention is being paid.
Right. We will certainly give more kudos as we try to also to Dr. Congleton and Mr. Kenny Turner for
Mr. Wooten as well.
All right, Mr. Wooten. All right. Thank you so much. Board members, do you have any questions at this time? Any questions?
All right.
I think the report was pretty thorough. Thank you so much, Mr. LaRue, for sharing that with us. And of course, we will certainly take all of that into great consideration as we plan and move forward for our next school year. I think every board member is kind of at a shock now with some of the things that was laid out in the report. So we certainly will take that under great advisement. Thank you so much for your assistance and your aid with that.
Thank you.
All right. All right, if we don't have any questions, instructional report.
Good evening. With respect to our board chair, board members, our superintendent, and all of my colleagues that's here this evening, I'm here this afternoon to share with you a highlight from the instructional department. On yesterday, we were gifted over $15,000 worth of STEM equipment to be used in our middle schools and our high schools. These products came, and I've tried to do some pictures so you could actually see us receiving them. But the actual CEO of Tech Terrier Education out of Durham, North Carolina. This is a company that has a global outreach. She sits on lots of different national STEM initiatives. And her mission is STEM literacy for all. They will be coming back to provide professional development to our teachers. We're not just sending the equipment out to the schools. We're going to do the professional development and then send it out so that the teachers are aware that the devices are there and how to use it. All of this has been a gift to us from Terrier Education. She shared with me today when I reached out to her that the company that she started, she has spent 32 years in education as a teacher, principal, and director of special education programs. And her purpose is to support teachers and students from a practitioner's point of view. She has spent her lifetime supporting public education, with that being said, she's coming to provide that support to our teachers as a knowing how to do different things with the equipment. Today, Mr. Redmond has separated it for us, and I've spoken with Mrs. Christy Martin, and we're in the process of scheduling one Friday for professional development in order to do the training. So Ms. Martin and I are both partnering with that adventure.
Thank you, Ms. Austin. Reverend Sykes, you're muted.
I apologize. I said, thank you so much. I said, I think we ought to give the agency that submitted those materials to us a round of applause of appreciation for them gifting our school district. Thank you so much. And thank you, Mrs. Austin and Mrs. Martin for working along with that. All right, our school health report at this time.
Good evening, board chair and board members and Dr.
Good
Congleton.
evening.
I am here. It's the right one. Okay. I'm here to give you your monthly school health update. Oh, okay. All right. Technology is not going to work for me today. So, but at any rate, so as you know, we have received some updated guidance from the Department of Health and Human Services. There has been some updates as of February the 2nd, and that has been linked to our document, and that is the information, the latest document is the information in which we are currently using to ensure that we are ready and prepared if and when our students return to school. The local health, hold on, go back one time, sorry. So just want to give you an update. We are in full steam with our essential personnel, which includes school employees, as well as childcare workers with the vaccinations. There are vaccination clinics. We have sent out the information with the support of our public information director, Terry Austin, has sent out the information on how our teachers, as well as those that are working within our preschool programming, can become vaccinated over the next few weeks. I actually had an appointment today. It was pretty simple. You can sign up on Sign Up Genius on any of the information that is provided, and we have sent that out to all of our staff. So thus far, as of our February update for this particular school year, this month, we have only had 3 suspected and presumptive additional cases for our month, which keeps us still at our 13% positive and 1% of our student population. As you know, still our students are remote. So we, Dr. Congleton shared information about our PPE status, so I'm not going to go over that, but that is the conclusion of today's school health report, tonight's school health report, and then entertain any questions if you have any.
All right, do we have any questions at this time, any board members? All right, if not, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to number 6 on our agenda. Certificates of excellence, A, B, and C. I think Ms. Terry Austin is coming to handle that for us at this time.
Yes, sir. And indeed, it's a pleasure to come back and recognize our certificates of excellence for our students and parents and employees. Chose this month since it is Black History Month. I chose to change up the slide a little bit, and our students may be soon highlighted in Black History events. I can do it. I've been trained by the best. I did it. Ha! Okay. Have some pretty smiles, and before I start, I would like to thank all of the parents for participating. It's been a great way with COVID-19, there are some positives because I've had the opportunity to communicate with our parents more. There have been more subject, they're sending in the photos and they're just as excited. We have a thread that's going where I'm sharing with them. Board meeting has begun, so we do have parents on. So I want to say welcome to them as well as thank you for choosing Weldon City Schools. So at Weldon Elementary School, this beautiful smile is Jasmine Smith. She's student of the month because she's very respectful and polite. She's very hardworking and will go beyond to help correct her mistakes on her own to improve her grade. She's always actively involved in her virtual lessons and very attentive and inquisitive. Jasmine is a pleasure to have in her teacher's class, and her teachers are very proud to select her as the student of the month for February. Congratulations, Jasmine. Next, we have Weldon Middle School, Miss Tanaya Robinson. She's an 8th grader who's been working diligently in her studies this year. Since the beginning of the school year, she has consistently maintained her high averages in all of her classes. Her hard work and dedication is evident in her performance. She's always present and on time for all of her classes. She's willing to participate in class as well as modeling perseverance, integrity, and a grit for the rest of her scholars at Weldon Middle School. She is an all-around great student and very deserving of being a Weldon Middle School Student of the Month. Next, we have Mr. Catavio Williams. He's an 11th grader at Roanoke Valley Early College. He's a well-rounded student who aims to not only achieve his goals, but exceed and surpass the expectations and aspirations of himself. Catavio will accept a challenge with no hesitation and complete it in its entirety. His teachers are pleased to announce him as Student of the Month. They've only known him for 2 years, but they've watched this young man develop academically and professional into a mature young man. Okay. Next, we have Mr. Kanye Davis. He's a senior at Weldon STEM High School. He's a smooth operator, I'm told. He's always working hard, but has a way of making it look easy in the classroom. He has set goals for himself and has taken the necessary actions to reach them each year. In navigating his senior year, he has adapted a virtual learning and has made the best of an unfortunate global situation. He pays attention to deadlines and has an eye for detail, plans ahead, seeks counsel, and as a student, we can all be proud of. At this time, let's all congratulate and give a hand clap for all of our students of the month. Our students of the month, Mr. Bowers and I will be coming about and be putting signs in your yard. We'll put the signs in the yard hopefully tomorrow, and then in a month, we'll come back and pick them up so that the people that's in your neighborhood will know that you are our Student of the Month. Before we go to the next slide, parent engagement is, everybody knows my heart. And we always say the key to a child's success is through their parents, the first relationships that they have with their parents. So for the first time since we've been recommending our most valuable parent of the month, this month, historical because we have the parent and the child being recognized at one time. So that does show that it's evidence that if we have that student as Student of the Month, next slide for me, we want to congratulate Mrs. Katrina Berriere Hunter as our Parent of Most Valuable Parent Award for this month. She was nominated by the school, and the comments were, she's a pleasure to work with. She makes herself available and has been a pivotal force in her son's navigation of his senior year. She attends meetings, she serves on committees, and she always lends a helping hand. So in their yard this month will be 2 signs. There will be a sign recognizing the student as well as the parent. So thank you, Mrs. Berriere Hunter, for being a vital part of your son's educational career at Weldon STEM High School. Next, our Employee of the Month is Miss Malika Banks. Ms. Banks is nominated from her school, Weldon STEM High School, and she's a do-it-all player that every team needs to be successful. She's a mentor, she's a teacher, coach, mother, and friend. Ms. Banks goes above and beyond each day by doing whatever it takes to make sure her students are safe, fed, in class, and on task. In our school community, she jumps in whenever she sees things that need to be done or improved, has a valuable presence on the committee, and makes life easier for the rest of her team. As a former cheerleading coach, she became a mentor to several young girls, a couple of whom have gone on to cheer in college. We appreciate Ms. Banks for her outstanding and standing in numerous gaps of Weldon STEM High School. And thank you for always keeping it real, Mrs. Banks. She's honest, hardworking, takes initiatives, thinks critically, and is graceful under pressure. So again, Weldon City Schools staff, we salute our colleague, Mrs. Smith. Congratulations.
Mrs. Banks.
And again, thank you for allowing me to present this to you tonight. And to those that are honored, thank you for choosing Weldon City Schools.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Austin. We appreciate that so very much. Right, are we back?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. At this time, we are slated to have a 2-minute break. Board members, do you need a break or let's keep going?
Keep going.
Keep
Let's
going.
Keep going.
All right, thank you so much. Public forum at this time, Dr. Congleton, do we have anyone for public forum?
Yes, we do. We have Miss Regina Brooks.
All right, thank you so much. Mr. Williams, while she comes, do you have your stopwatch available?
Yes, sir.
All right, do you mind taking the time for us tonight? Let me know when you're ready, Mr. Williams.
I'm ready.
Okay, good evening, Ms. Brooks. Glad to see you this evening. You're familiar with the public forum time. It's 3 minutes and you will hear a little beep. I think Mr. Williams has it set back there, but of course, if you're in the middle of a paragraph or you're almost finishing, we'll certainly listen to you complete your sentence or your paragraph.
Most definitely, and since you didn't take a break, it is so ever urgent that you hear me out tonight. I would appreciate it.
All right, thank you so much, Ms. Brooks. Mr. Williams, you ready? Let her know,
Yes,
and
sir,
then
I'm
she can
ready.
start.
I'm ready.
All right, you ready, Ms.
Good
Ms.
evening.
Brooks? Okay.
Good evening, and remembering my roots. My 2 minutes worth tonight will consist of sharing nuggets, gems, or jewels, whatever your choice. The board meeting for the last week landed on the birthday of a Dr. Ernest Andrew Brooks Jr. 23 years ago, he was so elated to celebrate his 50th birthday, leaving Regina and Ernest III at home to have cake and ice cream later because he just had to see Miss Jenkins. I guess he was going to share with her, I guess. On a more serious note, the virus, we've never had it before. We've never experienced it before. Well, for me, Dr. Brooks never died but one time, but I was told, get over it. The polio pandemic never happened before, but it happened. Integration, it happened. In Martin County, the Martin County Schools authorities, they thought that they could integrate Martin County schools in 1969 by sending a group of farmers' children to Oak City High School bus 72 or 68. Not so, said the farmers. The men sent the women to school and they established a boycott. And guess who was in that class? Regina Brooks. Oh, happy day. For the farmers, we are farmers' children, but we're not ignorant. Your foundation, Weldon City Schools, is weak, and I know you know it. I would encourage you to check your roots and check your curriculum experts. You are at a time wherein you are in dire need of people who know curriculum. Try mentioning to your teachers that they will advance with this class next year. See what happens. It happened before. Teachers had to rotate with the class. And you know what? They worked as hard could be to get that class to where they need to be, because they knew next year, if I don't do it this year, they're going to be looking at me next year. Been there, done that. I experienced the first year public kindergarten in the state of North Carolina in 1976. I had 31 students, many straight from home, without a teacher assistant from 1 month. Many of them were drug babies. Think back. They were bouncing off the walls and off the buses. I experienced handling of defecation and urination because many of them came straight from home, as I told you. But I did what I had to do because they were children, God's children. Could have been my children, your children. We never experienced that before either. There is a serious urgency, and there was at the time, of having counselors in the elementary school. When I mentioned it in a staff meeting, the assistant superintendent at that time looked at me and laughed and said, "You're dreaming." Well, the next year, the first grade teachers told me, yeah, she was dreaming, but you better do something about it because I see what she saw. Now, we are in search of a dream. And as you've just heard tonight, don't be found sleeping on your dream. Always listen to people who have educational observations and experience. And tonight I call the names of Nelson Edwards, Valerie Whitaker, because Nelson Edwards left this world physically. He was the father of Quanda Edwards and others. I taught one of his children. Quanda and my son Ernest were in class together. Nelson lost his mother about 2 weeks and Nelson died, and his funeral was last week. And tonight, his sister is over at Cofield ready for a funeral tomorrow. Nelson Edwards and Valerie Whitaker were prime examples of the best Weldon had with the algebra project. Valerie Whitaker was one of the best Weldon will ever have, and I can attest to that. And my son said, "Mom, make sure you go and talk to Quanda because we've been there, we know." And tonight, Quanda looked at me and said, "Miss Brooks, this is hard, and I know you know because they laughed at you 23 years ago. I'm so happy to see you. Ignorance, but when you learn, do better." We never experienced it before, but we can do better. You can start from where you are now. Your arms, school board members and administration, are too short to box with God. I repeat, your arms are too short to box with God. I know what I'm saying. I hope you know that too. Now, if Weldon City Schools doors are to close, don't say they did it. Say we did it, the school board members. We made the decision. Don't ever say you had no one to come before you to speak about the children, because Regina Brooks has been here. I've told you, and I've told you before, I'm not here on my own. I am here for the children. I'm here because I'm the farmer's daughter, the farmer who refused to send one bus load prior to integration. I'm here because I came 23 years ago with certification in 5 areas. But after the death of a husband, good wasn't good enough for Weldon City Schools, but I'm still here. I'm here because on February 11th, 2021, Ernest Andrew Brooks III was the Morehouse College Founders Day speaker. I'm still here, and I will be here until thus says the Lord. I thank you so much for listening, and I know that you know it only takes a little for Roanoke Rapids and Halifax County to swallow Weldon City School students. Do your job, get ready. Have somebody who knows what they're doing. The children will be in need. I was in need in 1969. It wasn't easy going over to Oak City. We didn't have a lot of help, but we did it. May I continue?
Mr. Williams, where are we with time?
4 minutes and 35 seconds.
I can't hear you.
4 minutes and 35 seconds.
No worry, I'll be back next month.
Oh.
Thank you so much. Good night.
All right, Ms. Brooks, thank you so much for your comments. Thank you for keeping our time, Mr. Williams. I didn't hear the alarm go.
It went off. I see so also.
All right, the screen is trying to refresh. All right. Thank you so much. Are there any other public comments, Dr. Congleton?
No, sir.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, moving on then to item number 9, our consent agenda. Any discussion on the consent agenda items?
Make a motion that the consent agenda be approved.
Second.
Thank you so much. The motion has been moved and properly second that we approve our consent agenda tonight. You've heard that motion. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, would you let it be known by your voice vote? Ms. Harrison,
Yes.
Ms. Hale,
Aye.
Ms. Jenkins,
Aye.
Mrs. Kimberly Robinson,
Aye.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mrs. Bird Robinson,
Aye.
and Sykes, aye. Thank you so much. All right, this is for discussion. And of course, we approve numbers on the consent agenda. What we just approved were 2, 3, 4, and 5. And we're going to discuss number 1, of course, after we have the discussion about the voting and abstention or abstaining from voting. And Mr. Malone has that for us tonight for our discussion. Mr. Malone. Unmute, Mr. Malone.
Can't hear you, Mr. Malone.
He's trying to unmute.
Sorry, I was trying to hit unmute and the whole screen went away. Sorry. I apologize.
All right.
So at the last meeting, Mr. Williams asked a question about abstention and how that would be handled under your policy. And in reviewing your policy, which incorporates Robert's Rules of Order, the way your policy is set up, if someone were to abstain without permission, then your policy and Robert's rules would simply treat it as if the person basically was not at the meeting. So it's neither treated in the affirmative or in the negative. You would just, while you'd have a quorum technically for the meeting, you would only, in your case, register 6 votes that night, and it would neither be an affirmative or negative. The potential downside in the policy, although I don't know that we've ever seen this happen, is that it's theoretically possible that if multiple people abstained without permission, it could create a situation where something could pass with a 1-0 vote. I mean, that's kind of the absurd view of it, but it is certainly the way that the policy is set up. And part of the problem is that Robert's rules at times, it's for like large assemblies and, like hundreds of people. So a handful of people in Robert's, and the way Robert's rules is set up, abstaining probably doesn't have much of an impact, but on smaller groups, it certainly could. Now, I don't know that you've had an issue with it, at least not at the meetings that I've covered, but within the policy, that's the way that would play itself out. So that's kind of what the way your current policy is. Now, whether you want to consider some change to the policy. To have the vote be counted in the affirmative, or to have it be counted as a negative or no vote, are certainly options that you could consider. As I put in the email that I sent to you, there is a statute for cities that requires, for city councils, that requires that a failure of somebody to vote or someone who abstains without permission, their statute requires that their vote be counted in the affirmative, but there is no such statutory provision for school systems. So referencing Robert's rules is fine, like you're doing. Right now, what happens is that you would basically pretend the person was not there in calculating whether or not a majority of the people approve the item. So in your case, if one person were to abstain and it were a 3-3 vote, then it would not pass. And as you can tell, if you were to make it an affirmative vote and you had a 3-3 split and someone abstained without permission, then it would pass. Or if you were to say that it would be treated as a no vote, then the matter would fail. So right now, you would end up with a tie under those facts. And I mean, that's again, having not had any issues to my knowledge, that may be a perfectly fine result for you. But you certainly could consider a change if that's something that you have any interest in.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, Mr.
Are there
Malone.
questions? Are there questions? Mr. Williams?
Yes, sir. Mr. Malone, you said if the person is staying without permission, who gives the permission?
A majority of the board.
Okay.
So if someone wanted to abstain, for instance, if someone were saying, I would like to abstain in this matter because I have a personal relationship with so-and-so, or whatever, I've got a interest in that company and I'm not able to vote on it, or whatever it might be, then the board would have to decide, a majority of the board would have to decide whether to allow that abstention. If the majority of the board said, no, we're not going to allow you to abstain for whatever reason, and the person continued to abstain, then under your rules, you would basically just have 6, assuming everybody was at the meeting, you would have 6 voting people at that time. And it could result in a 3-3 tie.
Well, we've had that to happen where we had a 3-3 tie.
Because someone abstained?
Correct.
Okay, then that is how your policy then would make it work out. So yeah, if somebody abstained either with or without permission, if you abstain with permission, you still have the same issue, right? So if someone abstains with permission, you could still end up with a 3-3 tie. But the real question is if someone is kind of refusing to vote on something for which there is no conflict, there is no reason that the board believes that they should not vote, but they just don't want to take a position on an issue, then under those facts, the question is, how does that lack of a vote get counted?
So
yeah, go ahead.
Let me ask a question. If we were to put some new language in our policy, and I'm not trying to say this is what Mr. Williams was saying, but in combination with what he said, I guess I have a question. So if a person does not vote, whether it is with permission or without permission, and we have a 3-3 split, presently the language is not in there, but you saying we could put the language in there where basically the board would vote, that person would have to take an opinion in the affirmative or the negative in that respect. Am I understanding you to say that?
Well, that's a great point. So and that's a great point. So let's back up for a second. So the general rule in your policy and everything is, as a public figure, you have an obligation to vote on all the matters that come before you. So
Correct.
you really don't get to abstain. You're not supposed to abstain, right? Now, if it's a conflict or some legitimate reason why you should not be voting on a matter, you would ask the board for permission to abstain. Person would abstain if granted permission. And the board just acknowledges that, well, on this particular issue, this particular person, for whatever reason, really should not vote on it. So we're going to let that person out. And that may very well still result in a 3-3 tie. Nothing
Got a
you would,
question
nothing
real
you would,
quick. Real,
all right.
before you go forward, okay, if you don't mind, let me insert something there. I think if there's a conflict, board members would normally say they recuse themselves and they state the reason why they recuse themselves. They just, don't vote. I mean, unless I'm understanding you differently, I think, if it was a vote, like you said, personal interest or something, somebody would say, they recuse themselves from voting because of X, Y, Z. And basically not just say I abstain from voting. I think a situation like that is totally different.
Well, we may be getting into semantics. I think that what happens in the regular course of a meeting may be that someone would say exactly what you just said, and people treat it like an excused abstention, right? Because that's what it is. You're really saying to the board, I don't want to vote on this matter because of X, Y, and Z. Do I have your permission not to vote on it? And the board, through its silence, just kind of allows it to happen. And people don't typically press the issue, right? When it's some issue like that. But what is really happening there is you are asking to abstain because of a legitimate reason, and the board is not calling you out on it. We're not making people jump through the hoops because we know, because you can kind of tell that that's what people, hey, yeah, that's fine, don't worry about it. But technically what's happening is you're asking to abstain, and then the board would theoretically vote on whether or not to allow the abstention. If we were trying to technically follow the rules. That's what's happening there. The board would grant it, and then everybody else would vote. And that would come up with, somebody's on the personnel report that or, something about, whatever you might decide. Look, even though under the new law, even though you could vote on the personnel report, you may just say, look, I like to not vote on, I'm going to recuse myself from voting, but that's really asking to abstain. And then we just, again, don't jump through the hoops because it's kind of clear that most of the time the board's going to allow that. So,
but if a person just says, what I'm understanding you to say, I guess, is if a person just says, I don't want to vote on that,
right?
That's not excusable, I guess, to say. So the board could take the position to vote to say, look, you have to vote for or against this issue.
Correct. So let's say that, and I'm going to make something up, but let's say there's some highly political issue, like whether to close the school in whatever community, and a board member is like, I don't want to vote on whether or not to close the school. I got my neighbors on both sides of me want me to do both. I don't want to vote, right? So it comes to a head. It's time to vote on it, and that board member says, look, I don't want to vote. Well, the rest of the board's like, no, we're all going to vote on this. You don't get to just not vote because it's a politically charged issue. You've got to vote. And the person says, no, I'm just not going to vote. I'm not going to vote. So that's the kind of situation where, the board would then say, well, no, you've got to vote. And the guy says, I refuse. The board member says, I refuse to vote. Then under those facts, in your current version of the policy, it would just be 6 voting members voting to decide the issue, and that person would not have to cast a vote. And you could theoretically come up with a set of facts where it's a really ugly politically charged issue, and 2 or 3 or 4 members could say, well, if you're not gonna vote, then I'm not gonna vote. Yeah, then all of a sudden you've got 3 people voting on something. And it could pass by a 2-to-1 vote because you've got a quorum and those votes just kind of go away. So then if the rules are just the majority wins, which is typically the case on nearly all items, then it could pass on a 2-to-1 vote if everybody all of a sudden decided, well, I don't want to take a position either. If you're not going to vote, I'm not going to vote. It could happen. Now, would it happen? I don't know, but could it? Yes.
I guess my question then becomes, if we are expected as a school board to maintain a quorum, which is 4 members, how would a vote pass if 4 agree not to vote and only 3 members vote? I'm just,
right,
hunting
because
for
at that point you get into the at that point you get into the fact that there is a quorum present at the meeting, right? So sometimes within your policy, and I'm trying to think of a good example, it may say that like sometimes within Robert's rules, it might say that a majority of the members present have to vote in favor of something, right? It'll say a majority of the members present. Well, most stuff just passes on a majority vote. Nearly everything else passes on a majority vote. So if 4 of the 7 people chose not to vote and only 3 people cast votes, then the majority of the 3 would decide the issues, and the other 4 votes or the other 4 members, it's like they weren't there for the purpose of counting votes, but they were there for the purpose of establishing a quorum. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
I mean, I see what you're saying,
Right.
the language of it, but I guess the ethical part of it, to me, you have, more people not voting, but they are there for the quorum, and
but everything, and that's why the presumption is, and the rule is that you're supposed to vote, right? So you don't get to not vote, right? Theoretically, you're supposed to vote. So we're dealing with a situation where we have 1 or more members who are refusing to do their civic duty and vote. And there are other ways in which the community or the voters or whatever may deal with that issue if people just kind of refuse to do the job that they were sent there for. But the idea would be that you're supposed to vote. If you don't vote and you're not given permission, then your current rules say, well, you don't count it. Again, now the city council rules by statute would say that those 4 people who didn't vote, those would go down as affirmative votes. So the matter would automatically pass just because they decided not to vote, regardless of what the other 3 people did. So your decision to recuse yourself without permission automatically counts as an affirmative vote, but you could just as easily, by policy or otherwise, by policy, decide to do it in reverse and to say, well, a refusal to vote is going to count as a negative vote, so that those 4 people who refused to vote would effectively defeat the matter. So either one could be selected, and there are pros and cons. We were talking this through in the office. I mean, there are kind of pros and cons to it being an affirmative vote or to it being a negative vote. It's kind of like you'd almost have to decide, well, what do you want the default to be? Do you want the default to be that if people recuse themselves, the matter is likely to pass? Or if people recuse themselves, the matter is likely to fail? Because that's kind of when you're deciding whether to make it one or the other, you're kind of potentially pushing it in one way or the other. And there, you may want it to automatically pass, or you may say, well, I mean, if we don't really have the people supporting it, then it ought to die. So either way is certainly a possibility.
Okay. Any other questions?
So Mr. Malone, we could solve that by having language that says, let's just say we said affirmative.
Yes.
It would be affirmative. If the person doesn't want it to be affirmative, then he or she'll vote no.
That is exactly correct. Right, right, right. Because the person can always vote, obviously, right? So they can absolutely always vote. So if the default is affirmative, which will mean the item will pass, if that person really doesn't want that result, then they would vote, then they would have to vote no. Or in the opposite. I mean, if their vote's going to be no and they kind of were hoping it would pass, then then they're going to need to vote. But yeah, either way, you're exactly right though. The idea is that it may put some pressure on the person to vote, but more importantly, it will avoid a 3-3 vote, if all 7 members are present.
Or got another question.
All right.
It's not statute for the school board, but it could be policy for our school board that all items that come before the board to be voted on, that each board member present for the meeting must vote.
Well, I think that is already in that part is in your policy. Let me get there real quick. Your policy, it's 2342. I think it already says that you've got to vote. But again, I mean, the whole point in it is that we're assuming that somebody that you said, person you need to vote, they're just choosing not to vote. A board member, yeah, your policy in the second paragraph says a board member must vote on all issues unless the member has a conflict of interest or is unable to remain impartial in a judicial matter before the board.
So, Mr. Williams, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. In as much as we brought that up, or you asked about it at our last meeting with Mr. Malone referencing policy 2342, that basically, I think, speaks to a situation that all board members must vote. And basically, if they agree not to vote, or say they don't want to vote, the board then takes a vote to say whether this person is excused from this or not. And then if they still say they don't want to vote, the person is treated like they're not even at the meeting at all. If I'm
correct, that's
just responding
for the purpose of the voting. Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Or are you, or would you be suggesting, Mr. Williams, or recommending that we might need to tweak the language as far as how we're going to be proceeding from this point on?
Yes, sir. I say tweak the language.
And your recommendation to tweak the language is,
go ahead, sir.
So they must vote on each issue, and if they say they want to abstain, then we have to poll the board to see if we're going to grant that request or not.
That's correct.
And if we say no and the person continues to say they're not going to vote, then we just treat it as though the person is not there at all.
No, I don't agree with that. That puts us right back where we were.
I think you're saying treat it as an
affirmative, because if we treat it like the person is not there, it's still going to end up 3-3, which is some things that we have had. So if that person doesn't vote or refuse to vote, then I think it needs to be done tit for tat affirmative.
Okay, I got you. And I mean, I guess, and I'm not playing the devil's advocate. I understand what you're saying, Mr. Williams, to move forward in that respect, so it wouldn't be a deadlock. But I guess I'm looking at the sensitivity of some issues that may come up. It may be just as detrimental if we treat it as an affirmative vote as it would if we treat it a no vote. But I get what you're saying, that we won't have any deadlock. We would always be able to move forward, whether it was in the affirmative or, against it.
Correct. That's what I agree with you with that. If either way, when you're up here on the board, you have to make some decisions that are going to be tough.
That's right.
If you
I
don't want to
agree.
make the tough decisions, then you, me, anybody else shouldn't be on this board.
I
But it
agree with
comes a
that.
time when you have to make that tough decision and you live with it. If it works, great. If it didn't work, we go back to the drawing board. But you have to make a stand.
I agree. And, you know, to further say what Mr. Malone said, you know, the community elected all board members to be their voice for decision-making on the board. And I say again, that's why, you know, it's crucially important that we listen to what the community has to say. And at the same time, we use common sense in our decision-making because, you know, at the end of the day, like you said, we got to live with that vote that we make and we got to be able to defend it. So board members, do you all want Mr. Malone to get us some type of language as far as that is concerned, and then, you know, we'll have it going forward?
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Hale said yes. I mean, this isn't a vote. This is just a consensus. We'll vote on what it actually be when, you know, the language is presented to us.
Yes.
I like to see them move forward.
Okay.
Okay.
Getting the language is good for me.
Okay.
And we're gonna go with it being treated in the affirmative, correct?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. And I do want to make one clarification to what Reverend Sykes said about recusal, because your policy does actually address that particular situation slightly differently than I actually described it. So what your policy said, now this is, and again, this would be assuming you met what's in the policy. So a board member, where is it? Oh, there it is. Unless the board member has a conflict of interest. Now, a conflict of interest is as defined in the policy, which would be a real conflict, like you own part of the company or one of those real conflict issues, not just it wouldn't be a relative or a spouse, not even a spouse anymore, is being hired or something. It would be a legitimate conflict. Or if you are unable to remain impartial in a judicial matter before the board. So that is, there's some kind of a personnel hearing or a student hearing, and you just noted you can't hear it impartially. That under those facts, you can recuse yourself, and you know, Kitty would then simply note it in the minutes why you recused yourself. But it would need to be literally a conflict, or you couldn't remain impartial. And because those are so rare, that is probably the reason that, as I was thinking about it earlier, the way I described it. But yeah, that is actually in the policy as it reads now, is you can recuse yourself if there is a real conflict of interest, or if you are unable to remain impartial in a judicial matter before the board. So I did want to clarify that because my earlier answer was inconsistent with what is actually in the policy.
All right. I think we heard from all the board members. Ms. Kimberly Robinson, did you respond about trying to get some language together?
Yes, I said move
Okay.
forward.
Okay. Mrs. Jenkins and Mrs. Harrison, did you all say something too?
Yes, I said yes.
Okay, all right. Thank you. I just wanted to make sure. Thank you so much. So hopefully, Mr. Malone, we can have that language the next time to discuss.
Yep,
All
absolutely.
right.
I'll get it.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Yes.
All right. Any other comment or question concerning that? All right. If not, thank you so much. Let's move now to 10A, the 2020 audit contract. And I think I raised that to us tonight. And I've mentioned this to Dr. Congleton, and of course, as he would always say, you know, the board is the final factor of determination when we look at any contract. And so I'm saying to the board tonight, and I know good auditing practices is that every so many years, it's just good CPA practices that you have a new CPA or a new auditor to come in to view the books and to give audit reports. And I raised that tonight because ever since I've been on this board, we've had the same auditors, the same CPA, and Dr. Congleton, I asked the question of you tonight: how long has this school district had the same CPA?
Well, I don't know how long they've had the same CPA, because, you know, about, I haven't been here but a year, a bit over a year. So not unless this particular CPA goes all the way back for 20 years. I don't know that to be the case. So I really don't have a clear answer for that.
Okay, all right. Well, I just asked that of you. I didn't know if you had any knowledge of how long that particular CPA had been there. But I say this: I know that the same CPA has been there. If we move forward with this will have been 5 straight years. And it's just good auditing practice. It's just good accounting practices that we bring somebody else in over a period of time to like verify. And I think it's time to hear from another accounting firm that our books are good and we're doing a good job, because over a period of time, you know, you develop relationships with the CPA, and I'm not saying that's neither good or bad. I think it's just good accounting practices that we have somebody after, you know, we've used them for a long period of time to come in and look at our books from a different firm to make sure that we are on the up and up. And that's not to say that we are not. It just goes good to us to have somebody else to say the same thing. And that was my comment on that. I'm very concerned about that before we were to move forward with this particular contract. And I would hope that we as board members would look at that and think about that before we move forward.
I
Do we have
agree.
any comments or questions?
Mr. Chair,
Who is speaking?
K.A. Robinson.
Okay.
I agree with you with that. Most city councils and boards change their auditors and CPAs in 3 to 5 years. Most of them.
All right. Any other comment?
Yeah, I would just like to make a comment, and obviously, whatever the board decides, we're going to do everything that we can to meet that directive. But I just would like for y'all to just consider a couple of things right now that's sort of unique in terms of where we are at this point in time. First of all, the audit that we're talking about is for this current year, which we're quickly approaching the end of this year. And we need to understand that auditing and finances with the school business is not just a typical. It's a little bit specific, or specific in a lot of ways, and it's going to take some time to actually get bids and so forth from another contractor to come in at this point in time. I think it would be wonderful to have that in mind for next school year. But at this point in time, first of all, we are very short on staff. as you all know. And particularly, the staff that relates directly to the financing and that sort of thing. And unless I'm misinformed, this will require us to try to get bids or see bids or whatever, for someone to actually submit a proposal, not to submit a proposal, but be accepted as the new auditor for this current school year. They are not all that plentiful and available for people that really specialize in school auditing. So my suggestion would be is that we continue with this auditor for this school year and then start real early, towards the end of this year or the beginning of next year to maybe solicit an auditor for upcoming years or for next year. But we've got a lot of things that we're dealing with the reduced staff, and we're getting ready to maybe bring some students back into our buildings. That's going to require a lot of extra time, planning, effort, implementation, and all these kinds of things that we're having to do with limited staff for various reasons that I won't go into as to why the staff is so limited at this point in time. So it would be a tremendous imposition and a hardship, to be honest with you. However, if the board say that's what we want to do, then we'll do everything we possibly can to make it happen. But I just want you all to know that it's not a simple matter, that we'll be able to handle and deal with and take care of in a few days, and we got all these other things, and new things that we're dealing with that we're trying to get through. Just ask you to consider that, that's all.
Dr. Congleton.
Yes, sir.
Let me ask you a question. Did I read this contract wrong? I thought this was going over into 2022. Are you saying?
Sir, I think this is 2021. This is for this current year.
Okay, so basically, this auditing firm that we have now would view the current school year 2020 through 2021. So basically, they would view from July 1, 2020 through June 30th of 2021.
That's correct.
Okay, and then so I thought this contract went from, you saying school year July to June. I was looking at this contract, and that's an error on my part, that it was for the year of 2021, like January through December. I got you now.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, it's for fiscal year 21.
Right.
It ends June 30th.
June 30th, 21. And
Okay.
and the report is due by October 31st, 21.
Right.
And
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. So with that being said, we could because we're starting early enough time, then we could make sure that we got a new auditing firm bidded out to be ready to start July 1.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
And I think that would be the thing to do.
All right. Okay. I can accept that. So when we start the new school year, we have time enough to bid it out, and we start with a new auditing firm. So we pulled it. I'll make a motion now in that respect that we approve the auditing contract for the current school year that would end June 30th, 2021, and that we would get a new auditor to start our 2021-22 school year.
Second.
All right, that motion has been moved by myself and seconded by, I think that was Miss Kimberly Robinson, am I correct?
Yes.
All right. In that respect, as I just stated, we'll approve this auditor that would end in June 30th, 2021, and we have time to get a new auditor for our new school year starting July 1, 2021. You've heard that motion. Is there any discussion?
Discussion.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Reverend Cradle, the first part of your motion.
No, this is Sykes.
Well, I'm sorry, Mr. Sykes. Excuse me. I don't have any problems with the first part, but to say we're gonna get a new one, I think that ties our hands. We may can't get an auditor, a new one, or the one that we want to get may not be as good as this one. I think the language would be better, then we'll consider looking into replacing the auditor. Just to say we're gonna get a new one, I have a problem with that language, sir.
Okay, and I respect your opinion, Mr. Williams. But that's not the motion on the floor at this time. So the only thing.
But
we
you
can
said
do-
question, if you had any
Oh,
question.
sure,
Okay.
sure. That's what I'm saying. I respect your opinion. And I hear you loud and clear. So are you suggesting that I amend my motion to say that we will get one if we can find one? I mean, I know we can find one. That's not the problem. It's just a matter of doing what we need to do between now and July 1 to have one in place.
We need two separate motions.
Yeah, I mean, what you could do is maybe the better way to do it is to say that you want to approve this contract for the 2021 school year, and you're directing the superintendent to issue an RFP for proposals for the 21-22 school year, and then the board can review the proposals and decide who you want to hire.
All right. I will amend my motion, board, to the language that Mr. Malone just offered for us. Did everybody hear what he said?
Yes, and it was
Yes.
very similar to what I was gonna say, so I'm good with that.
Okay. All right. So you've heard the amended language. I still offer the motion that we approve this and superintendent do the necessary steps to see if we can move forward then with a new auditing firm to begin our school year in July 2021. Is there a second to that amended language?
I think it was 21-22, right?
Yes, excuse me, for the 21-22
The
school year.
RFP, yes, for the
Yeah.
RFP.
Mhm.
All right. Was there a second?
Second.
Who was that?
Ms. Hale.
Ms. Hale, okay. All right, you heard that motion, the amended motion. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of that motion, would you let it be known by your voice vote? Ms. Hale,
Aye.
Ms. Bird Robinson,
Aye.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Sykes, yes. Ms. Harrison,
Yes.
Ms. Jenkins,
Aye.
Ms. Kimberly Robinson.
Aye.
All right, let the record reflect that that motion passes unanimously. So we have that taken care of. Thank you all so much. Now we will, hold on, it's refreshing. All right, let us go now to item number 11, action from closed session. We'll entertain a motion at this time.
I make a motion.
Go ahead, Ms. Tiff.
Okay, I make a motion to approve the personnel from tonight's closed session.
Is there a second? Motion has been moved and properly second. Motion by Ms. Hale and seconded by Mr. Williams that we approve the items from closed session. You've heard that motion. Is there any further discussion? You did second that, right, Mr. Williams?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, hearing no further discussion, all those in favor, would you let it be known by your voice vote? Ms. Bird Robinson? Ms. Bird Robinson?
Aye.
Ms. Harrison?
Yes.
Ms. Hale?
Aye.
Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Ms. Kimberly Robinson,
Aye.
Mrs. Jenkins,
Aye.
and Sykes, aye. Let the record reflect that it was approved unanimously. Is there anything else to claim our attention? Any board member have anything they would like to say? Of course, I will yield now to board members. If you have a point of personal privilege that you would like, something that you would like to share with us before we close our meeting tonight, would there be any board member?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, has been motioned that we adjourn our meeting and properly seconded. All those in favor, would you let it be known by your voice vote? Sykes, aye. Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Ms. Jenkins,
Aye.
Ms. Bird Robinson,
Aye.
Ms. Kimberly Robinson,
Aye.
Ms. Harrison,
Yes.
Ms. Hale.
Aye.
All right, let the record reflect unanimous approval to adjourn our meeting. Thank you, Dr. Congleton. Thank you, Ms. Kitty. We see you back there. Thank you so much tonight, Mr. Redmond, and everybody working to make sure that our board members and board meetings are run as smoothly as possible. Thank everybody for their support. Board members, thank you for your cooperation and support this evening. Mr. Malone, we appreciate you as well. Hope that everybody will have a good evening.
Thank you all.
All right, good evening.